Hello, everybody, and welcome to Capsule Cast Week 4. This week I am your host, DoorGuard, as always, with my co-host Donut and our special guest, Royal supporter Fat Happy 3. Please say hello to the cast, everybody.
Hello,
Hey, how you
I'm
doing?
Donut. What?
Donut, say hi first. Let's go with that way.
Oh, sorry. Hi, I'm Donut. Coach of the Androids.
Yeah, and I'm Fed Happy. I'm a supporter on Royals.
So, just doing as we're doing, keeping with a co-host and special guest. Remember, there is no qualifications. You do not have to be a coach to be on it. Just active with your team enough that where they know who you are. So, with that, are you guys ready to get on to match number 1 of the week?
Let's do it.
Yep.
Alrighty then. Match number 1, we have Androids versus Muscle. Well, it's a good thing Donut was here. Already getting him right away. So, this was a pretty good match. Really a hard one. I think the predictions are very close last weekend. I mean, both these teams basically fought probably more than any other team going into Tenkaichi Bowl last season. So, a very interesting start. We have Super Saiyan Broly versus 17, a Melee versus B2 build. Broly on one of his second or third build of the season now. They're very experimental over at Muscle. And it was kind of from here that a lead was built and kind of established the rest of the time. Broly getting a 2-bar lead, using the max power mode off Kakarot to do some ping pong combos and an ult, taking out 17. Cell coming in, trying to pull back the advantage, but unfortunately Broly was able to tag, and Roshi coming in and having probably one of the strangest interactions of the week. Roshi ulting Cell, but he doing an after image and then kind of floating through it. Highly recommend just watching to see that. That was a fun moment. But really good fight. Cell kind of starting to pull an advantage before getting taken out, and Super 17 coming in. Unfortunately, a max range ult was able to be dodged by Roshi, and Super 17 kind of struggled from there, but did manage to force Roshi to tag at 1 bar. Super Saiyan Trunks coming in, now on a super build, kind of swapping with Broly and roles here, and just doing some absolute nonsense to Super 17, blowing him up pretty easily with the Heat Dome attack. 16 coming in, taking out Super Saiyan Trunks. Certainly seemed like at this point it could still go either way, even though Androids were certainly on the back foot. Bojack coming in and starting to do some of his ult spam, which ends up taking out 16. Cell coming back in, he tagged out earlier, dodging some more max power mode shenanigans from Bojack, forcing him to transform, but unfortunately Cell was unable to finish him. He was able to tag at 1 bar. And Broly comes in and kind of Kakarots and does another ping pong combo to finish it off. So I would say overall, even though Androids are unable to pull out the victory, they still had a pretty good match. Super 17's kind of, even though he isn't running style the strong, is still more or less a ult-based character. So him coming in missing is obviously not as optimal. But overall, I think both teams showed a lot here. It was just a little unfortunate the lead made by Broly. I mean, it was almost a one-man show by him this match. So, Donut, what did you think of this match?
Um, Obviously not the result that I wanted, but I thought as soon as the first matchup happened with Broly and 17, I kind of knew how the match would turn out. I knew that going in, that'd be the main deciding factor, considering Broly's such a strong character. Um, Going in, I was not very surprised about how Roshi did. Roshi always does very well against the androids. And really, the if you have to say as a, a underperforming character, it's really 17. He didn't spam as much as I hoped he would, being on that super build. And obviously his melee couldn't stun Broly due to the power body in the max power mode. Um, so overall, I thought it kind of went as expected. After that, I thought 16 did very well against Trunks, so I was happy with that. And Bojack did very well getting his Grand Smashes off. And yeah, you know, Roshi props to him for using that B1 after mid-strike, dodging that Kamehameha from Cell for like, 15 times in a row. That was fun. Fun to see. But well, yeah, it went about as well as we could considering these circumstances with the B1s, the missed ults, them hitting the transformations, etc., etc. But overall, I thought it was a decent match.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, it was really came down to they hit their ults when you guys unfortunately missed. So Fat Happy, what do you think about this match? I know both these teams maybe are one you're looking forward to fighting against. I think we are waiting for his push to talk to activate.
No, Discord decided this was a good moment to crash.
Ah, yes.
Nice.
Welcome
Yes,
to the club.
literally
Gommel
clicked
did
one
that
button
last
and it
week.
crashed. Yep. But did you ask for my thoughts?
Yeah, so what did you
Yes.
think of the Androids versus Muscle match this week?
Yes, I thought it was a good match. Broly was definitely the star of the show to me. Frankly, I've always had the opinion that Broly is in normal, both in normal and Super Saiyan form. Personally, I've always seen him as an average character, but he's definitely shown recently that he can be very scary even when he doesn't go into legendary Super Saiyan form. Which I feel like this match showcased a lot. Other than Broly, I thought the fact that Super 17 missed his ult, I actually thought was kind of a like as it happened. I assumed it was kind of going to be a blessing for the Android, so they kept their water map. Because I always feel like Super 17 kind of goes against their game plan. Since it takes away one of their big advantages, which is the map. But in the end, they could really have used the extra damage if it had hit. At the same time, the Bojack ult into B1 into ult, which I thought that was so impressive because the way he timed it, he hit the B1, killed someone, and he hit the ult, killed someone, and then he B1'd as they were dying, meaning he didn't have to waste any time B1ing after the next person came in. So yeah, I thought it was a very good match.
Yeah, certainly saw some shades of old Bojack there in his old spam build, and I would say Team Muscle kind of took from Sentai the whole let's change builds a lot. Both those teams have been very creative and showing threats that you just never can fully anticipate because the build Trunks and Broly have swapped builds more than once this season, and Roshi certainly flung around, and Bojack was their Eternal Life defense user for a bit there too. So yeah, certainly a scary team. When it comes down to it. But many would say the same about Androids. I mean, hey, Killer 19 was not in this week. So,
True.
do you guys have any final thoughts on this match then? Or you guys ready for match number 2?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
I'm ready for next match, yeah. Let's do it.
Alrighty then, let us get on to match number 2. Kaiju versus Namek. Now, this one was a interesting one. I know Namek's been kind of on a stomp lately, but Kaiju's been a team that people have really been looking forward to, and I think they've had some pretty good showing so far this season. So we had Tambourine versus Scouter to start, a Melee versus a pseudo super build on Scouter, and man, just like two tanks basically starting it off. Not tanks in the sense of health, but in the sense of just monsters that you don't want to see on the battlefield. And Scouter taking Tam down to almost less than half a bar before Tam having a surprising comeback and taking him out. However, Bardock coming in and just kind of slapping Tam out of the match right away. So basically still even when King Piccolo comes in, and some ult dodges, some nonsense between the two of just ping-ponging, and Bardock has managed to take King Piccolo out, but he only has about half a bar left. So Nuova comes in and finishes him off with the B2, same as how Bardock took out Tambourine. So back to an even match. Now we have Raditz versus Nuova. Now I think this is kind of the turning point of the match. I don't think Raditz is weak, but Nuova is their strongest character, and seeing as how they're both spammers, it kind of came out to who got the most off. So Nuova managed to take out Raditz, but he did go down to about 1.5 bars left. So certainly not a bad fight, but that lead right there with Nappa coming in, and even though Nappa's kind of their monster, and especially with his defense plus 3 build, they have had 0 ape transformations by now. So Nappa is kind of having to do a little bit of a comeback, and their whole idea of having an advantage on the night map has been taken out. So Nappa does manage to take out Nuova, but late Piccolo comes in, 1.7 bars to full health. It was always going to be a hard-fought battle, and they even used, I believe it was 5 Zenny to buy the Draconic Aura for late Piccolo. So even with Nappa transforming, the advantages it gave were kind of negated. So Namek managed to take the win, going 4-0 and Kaiju to 2-2. I would say Kaiju really came out and put up a good fight. It was a little unfortunate that for being a night map, they did not have anybody transform but Nappa. But and even though their numbers didn't look like the most fantastic, I still think they had a very good showing. But the power of Nuova is still a scary one. So, Donut, what do you think of this match?
My thoughts initially, I thought it'd be a very close match, which turned out to be fairly close. I thought there'd be a lot more transformations, but that's obviously due to RNG and the randomness of that happening. Um, I think the main factor in this was simply that Raditz got outclassed by Nuova, and that's no fault to Raditz saying he's a bad character or anything. It's just saying that Nuova is one of the stronger members from Namek alongside Lake Piccolo. So when you take Raditz and Nappa against Nuova and Late Piccolo, you take the latter more times than not. Um, Overall, I thought that if you had to take some good things away from Kaiju, Bardock looking strong as ever, still taking his man. Scouter Vegeta holding his own after getting his 40k in despite not looking too hot in the preseason and in testing. So I thought those were some positives to take away for Kaiju. And yeah, the overall close match, and props to Namek for maintaining undefeated.
Yeah, certainly frustrating for me personally, being Namek is in my division. I would not mind them losing to some teams here and here and there. So, Fat Happy, what did you think of this match?
Yeah, I thought it was good. The start where Tambourine managed to take out Scouter Vegeta, being a Vegeta and me being a Roa supporter, I know how scary Vegetas can be. So I thought that just the fact that Tambourine took out Vegeta was a big win for the Namekians. But I think, as Donut said, I think the linchpin of this match was definitely Nuova taking out Raditz. Because it felt like at one point Nuova was just throwing out B2s after each other, with his the big energy ball he keeps throwing out. I can't remember the name of it.
Burst attack.
Yeah, the burst attack followed by a tornado, followed by burst attack into another point blank tornado. It just felt like Raditz was deleted from the match at one point. Which is very hard to come back from. And yeah, there was no way that, in my opinion, when at the end of the match, when Nappa finally took out Nuova and Late Piccolo came in, where Late Piccolo, had the boost for was it Draconic Aura? There was no way that Namek was going to lose that fight at that point, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, as Donut was saying there, it's hard to say that it was ever going to be like fully in Kaiju's favor, but they certainly had opportunities. If Vegeta finished off Tambourine with that 1.5 bar lead he had for a little bit there, and Raditz missing a couple point blank B2s where Nuova didn't, certainly was a match could go either way, and I think both teams certainly showed lots of strengths. And as we see, 2-2 is certainly not bad. Most of the teams right now are 2-2. And 4-0 obviously being insane, but being the only team at 4-0, it's not that worrying as they aren't even in the same division. So there's some slight, goodness to take away from this, but it is always unfortunate losing on your home map, especially to an away team such as Namek. Did you guys have any final remarks on this match here?
Not for me.
No, not really.
All right, sounds like we are moving on to match number 3, Hybrids versus Resurrected Warriors. Now, this was a match that was very hard to predict. I know Resurrected Warriors may not, or is a newer team, kind of a reformation as Afterlife, as we said before, but they have some very strong actors on their team. So it was really kind of a hype match to see this one and see how it turned out, especially with everybody's favorite Sword Trunks MVP of the season here. So we had Kid Gohan versus N Super Saiyan Vegeta to start. So a tank build versus a spam build. Now that's just like already looking like one that you have no idea. Is the tank gonna out tank the spam, or is the spam gonna melt through the tank? Well, Kid Gohan ends up taking out Vegeta with about 1.4 bars left. So forcing Videl to come in, already at an early advantage for hybrids. And she managed to take out Kid with only losing about a bar before Super Saiyan Teen Gohan comes in. So relatively even, but this is where the super spam of Super Teen comes out, and he manages to take out Videl with 3 bars left before Ader comes in, and now even though he's on a tankier build, he is still a big spammer. So they kind of do lots and back and forth before teen tags with half a bar left. And after taking Ader down to 2 bars, Sword Trunk comes in and literally finishes off Ader with a finish buster and a few other B2s. Early Piccolo comes in now for Resurrected Warriors, and it certainly is an uphill battle from this point on, being the last character for Resurrected Warriors. He does manage to take out Early Piccolo, but he's down to half a bar by this happens. So when Future Gohan comes in, even though there was a slight mistake and Future Gohan was in base form, he did 1B2 and it ended the match. So his pathetic stats of 2.3k are basically from coming in and hitting one little thing and the match ending. So really anybody could have been there. So overall, I think Resurrected Warriors showed a good fight. I know there was worries of Android 18 being this week, but I still think even without her, they are a strong team. And obviously hybrids, even without their melee monster or Eternal Life user in Ultimate Gohan, are still a threat. So certainly a very close match. And besides a few moments here and there, I think it was hard to fully predict who would win this one. So what do you think of this one, Donut?
I thought this was an interesting match. I think the main matchup that I was looking at was N Vegeta and Kid Gohan. That would be a very interesting match just because the styles are very different. And it was fairly close, right? 1.3 bars on Kid. But I think the MVP for hybrids was kind of Team Gohan taking out Videl and then getting halfway down with Ada. And Ada, as I know personally, is a not a weak character by any means. Um, I you mentioned the spamming from Teen is interesting because he fired like 6 B2s, right? And he only landed with 2 of them, I think, which is kind of weird. When you say spam, you think that, oh, he have every single one, and he just did massive amounts of damage. But it was like a mixture of B2 and melee, right? So, so the versatility from Teen Gohan. Um, Overall, it was an uphill battle anyway for RW. Considering 18 was out, who's one of the strongest, if not the strongest member from them, with her ult spam. But I think they put up a good fight. I honestly do think they put up a good fight. And it's a predicted playoff team, or at least one of the top in the league. So that's my general thoughts on this one.
Certainly was always going to be an uphill battle, I think, for Resurrected Warriors. As you said, many people hold hybrids up in the top 3 to 5 of the league. So it's kind of a good test, especially a test without Android 18 to see how well they did. So I think they certainly showed some good results, even with kind of their main man out. Fat Happy, what did you think of this match then?
I thought this match was very interesting because it felt very back and forth when you were watching it. With after Kid Gohan took out Vegeta, Videl beats Kid, Gohan comes in, destroys Videl, then Ader comes in and destroys Team Gohan. But the thing is, every time the hybrids just were just like every single encounter where the hybrids won, they were a bar ahead of the Resurrected Warriors, it feels like, which in the end meant that when the final Gohan came out, there was almost nothing left to do. Just a little tap. Also, interestingly, I thought that I know there's been a lot of complaints about Sword Trunks, but he did really well this week. He did more than 50k, if I'm not incorrect.
Yes, he did 52k.
Yep.
So that's hybrids can definitely look at Sword Trunks and be like, he did good this week at least. And I don't think that Resurrected Warriors need to be. I feel like Resurrected Warriors are a strong team in their own right, where they might just have had they just lost out a bit on every fight. So
Certainly.
I don't think they can be too sad. Well, obviously, a loss is a loss, but I don't think they can be too sad about their characters' performances.
Yeah, I think there were some good points both teams can take out of this. I mean, especially with Resurrected Warriors being heavier on, as Donut said, Android 18's ult spam, and with hybrids still kind of kind of messing around with sword trunks. I think both teams certainly showed a lot. I mean, nobody horribly underperformed. Everybody did about 30K on Resurrected Warriors, which maybe isn't the goal of 40K, but you know, getting that B or C on a test sometimes what you need. And unfortunately, when everybody does that, and as you said, it's when each character came in and kind of kept getting that slight 1 bar advantage for hybrids, it just ended up being a full character by the end. But overall, yeah, I think especially for a non-divisional, this was a good match, and it almost felt like a little bit of a testing grounds for both teams, kind of poking out some what their limits are. So, do you guys have any other points you want to make on this match?
Not for
No,
me.
I'm good.
Alrighty then. Man, we're moving along again. I think we finally got things figured out, don't it? Moving on to match number 4 here. So this was kind of the big match of the week. This was the divisional Budokai versus Royals. Certainly one that was always going to be interesting, and there was a Zenny map swap to get it to the hyperbolic time chamber. So just about as neutral as a map as you can get, basically just a flat plane with 0 things in the way. There is one building, but it's about as good as you're going to get. So we have a Majin Vegeta with a boost on his attack +2 to attack +3 versus Kid Goku. So 2 melee monsters to start, and that Majin Vegeta boost is certainly a scary one to face. Kid Goku ends up tagging at 1 bar due to Majin Vegeta's combos, having Cyborg Tao come in, and Majin Vegeta was still at a little bit over 2 bars when he forced him to tag. So Majin Vegeta eventually also tags when he gets to a little bit less than half a bar, and Cyborg Tao a little bit over 1 bar. So still no characters dead, which a great way to start a divisional is having everybody tag right before they die. Slug comes in and attempts to take it to Cyborg Tao, but then he tags at 1 bar. So still no characters dead. This divisional is going to be a long one. Super Saiyan N Goku comes in. He is a boost to his super +1, and he manages to ult Slug, taking Slug down to 1.3 bars before he tags. Still nothing going on. You guys see a theme here? Maybe that should be the name of this episode. How many tags in a divisional? Majin Vegeta comes back in and takes on a nearly 3-bar N Goku. So we have a pseudo story accurate canon fight here, and we even get a Majin Vegeta Majin Awakening ult. So that was a fun one, had some unique dialogue. Certainly would say to go and watch it. Casters went kind of insane at this point, which takes Goku down to 1.3 bars. It misses about half the damage, and being at 1 HP, he was taken out quite handily afterwards. Slug coming back in with 2 bars. Unfortunately, wasting his savior again with kind of flying around, not doing much, but he does transform. And he gets N Goku to tag when he takes him down to his last bar, having Nam come in, and Nam takes out Lord Slug. So finally some people falling off the table here. Mecha Frieza coming in, certainly one of the scariest characters on Royals, forcing Nam to tag when he gets down to 1 bar. Mecha surviving with a little bit over 1 when Kid Goku comes back in. Mecha takes out Kid Goku with a not-so-death beam, redeeming the name a little bit, without losing basically any health, making before getting taken out by an N Goku Savior ult. So Deborah's coming back in, or Deborah coming in for the first time, last character on Royals with 3 bars, manages to take out the N Goku without losing basically any health at all, basically at about 3.5 bars left. Nam coming in, taking out Deborah, bringing him down to 2 bars, and then Cyborg Tao with the uphill battle manages to take out Deborah with some well-placed Dodon rays, one from max power mode. So Budokai managed to kind of snag this match. If you look at the damage here, I mean, 197, basically 198k to 196k damage. It's about as even as you could ask. Many, many tags, many, many ults, many, many B2s. Some just absolute great play by both teams. Both teams now at 2-2, but I mean, this is probably like a match to watch back multiple times. I just kind of hard to put it into words with how many tags I was saying and just by looking at how close it got. So we'll go on to Donut first, since Fat Happy will have more than a few cents to say. What do you think of this match here, Donut?
So obviously being in the same division, I had this one on my, my bucket list to watch, and it did not disappoint. As I said, nearing 200,000 for each team is no small feat to do. Um, I thought that Royals would take it going into it, just due to how Mecha Frieza was doing, Majin Vegeta. He did his 86K, I think it was, something like that. And I thought Royals would take it, but when every single member of Budokai does tag, it's a tall it's a tall task, right? And they both hit the same amount of B2s with 7. They both hit the ultimates, etc. And no one underperformed. I guess you can look kind of to Lord Slud with only doing 28,000, 29,000, something like that. But it was just a very enjoyable match back and forth. Definitely one to watch back. If I had to shout out a certain character, I would say Nam. Nam for going toe to toe with Frieza is very good to see there. And yeah, that's kind of my initial thoughts. I know Fat Happy over there will have a lot more in-depth conversation on his team side of things, but I just thought it was a very enjoyable match. Easily the best match of the week, in my opinion.
I mean, it's kind of hard when you have a divisional and it being a close match just like this. It certainly, I feel like this might have been even, this one certainly felt a lot better and a lot closer than our match against Hybrids way earlier in the season. So, Fat Happy, man, take it away. What'd you think? How'd your team perform? And I guess what were your standards looking into this match?
So this match was a great match to watch, regardless of the fact that we lost. But it was like it came down to the wire at the end, with Deborah having 3 stocks at the very end, so he could have after mid strike, but chose not to, and so it's called Tao beat him with like less than half a bar remaining. Definitely like an exciting finish in that respect, but otherwise, I must admit, I was really impressed with the boosts and the builds that Budokai put forth. Having light body on 3 separate characters against our team, I must admit, when I saw that, I was like, they have put some thought into their boosts.
For those that don't know, you are limited to 2 light bodies, and they boosted for a 3rd. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely the fact that both Majin Vegeta and Deborah's ability to, completely destroy people with their rush blasts, the fact that was hampered, I thought was extremely smart. Also, just the fact that they just tagged so much, it was hard to keep up with in the end. Obviously, Majin Vegeta, as Donut said, did very, very well with more than 80k of damage. He has not had a bad showing yet, and hopefully never will, for our team at least. But of all the disappointments for my team at least, I will say the fact that Frieza, for one of the only times, didn't spend his max power on a supernova, and didn't go back to max power for another supernova, I believe. That was a disappointment. I know that saying that a character only doing 39.8k, calling it a disappointment might be a bit, it sounds like I have a big head, but when they tagged as much as they did, he needed to have done more. And Slug, frankly, he underperformed. He did tag, so that was good, but 10k of his damage was a single B2 after he transformed, like 20 seconds before he died. So he could definitely have upped his game, in all honesty.
Yeah, certainly makes you wonder if maybe Emperor Pilaf, even though statistically seen as a weaker character, might have done more than Lord Slug if he managed to hit 2 B2s, which probably would have evened the damage out. But, I mean, you even got a Majin Vegeta ult. There was certainly some crazy things going on. I guess if you did have that option, would you think of putting Emperor Pilaf in, or is Lord Slug still just superior to him when it comes to a divisional match?
The thing is that from testing, at least, the first character we tested was Slug, and he actually did really well in tests. Like, to the point where we were like, oh, Slug is almost as good as Deborah. From like the early test that we did, to be perfectly frank. but he's just not shown up during the actual season. On Pilav's side of things, he consistently does slightly less than 30k, but on the B2 side of things, he's hit a single B2 this season. He has a 16% connection rate with his B2s. Most of his damage is from the fact that he always has Savior, and he has managed to hit his ults quite well, even though they're rush ults. But I would much rather have Slug-in than Pilaf, especially because the transformation blocks, both gives armor and it blocks the rush B2s, even though that didn't really end up mattering in this match, shall I say.
Yeah, I guess is there any boosts you might have thought of adjusting or adding on to kind of amp, seeing as how Budokai basically threw the piggy bank at you guys?
Yeah.
The thing is, we don't have much of a piggy bank to begin with, since we spent 15 Zenny on the Hyperbolic Times Chamber. We definitely
feel you there.
I don't think we would have boosted more anyways. A single boost on Majin Vegeta felt like it was sufficient, and it almost was. If they had one less tag, we would definitely have come through with just a single boost. But yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to say if Majin Vegeta using his super rare suicide ult had actually hit all of the hits on it, if that might have actually been enough to help turn it into your guys' favor, seeing as how it only did about 9k because it hit only the last 3. Did you have a question for Fat Happy Donut?
Not. I think you answered mine. Actually, it was about the boosts. Cause I noticed that Budokai did, I think, 4 different boosts on the 3 different ones.
They did 3 boosts and a map swap, so they threw the piggy bank into this match.
On the subject of the map swap, I don't know if this was them like strategizing, being like, we like this map, we're gonna change to it, or if they were just flexing on us.
No, they tried to.
That's how it felt.
They tried to 3 Zenny bid for Hyperbolic Time Chamber earlier in the preseason. So they wanted this map to begin with, but you guys spent all 15 where they were trying to slow bid for it. So it just came down to that. A lot of teams fought for this map. I know us Buujins thought about it, but we missed our chance as well. What were you talking about, Donut?
No, it's just about the boost and see if they would change anything. But it sounds like they were kind of, conserving the Zenny, which is perfectly valid, right? To do. Other than that, I don't really have any questions regarding this. It just seems, like I say, if Majin Vegeta did, hit one more, or if, Frieza threw an ult, right? At all. Things would have changed in your favor. But still, Budokai obviously being the underdogs, I think you can say by public perception, coming in, very impressive. Very impressive.
Certainly. I would say I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Lord Slug at least one Patara change off of Savior, since both times he came in with it, since he did tag, he flew around until it went away. So I guess would that be something in your guys' future plans, is maybe to mess with that Patara as it's kind of rotting away on him right now, or is that just a one-time occurrence?
We have discussed it, and the thing is that even though he hasn't been using it very well, he is the character that's tagged the most so far, I think.
He also is like King Vegeta, where he likes to tag very early.
Yeah. So it feels like it should, in theory, be a naturally good Potara on him, but he just doesn't use it, and frankly, his B2s aren't very conducive to using it well, like if he doesn't use his ult.
Darkness Eye Beam and Finger Beam are very small B2s, so they are more difficult.
Finger Beam isn't that bad, but you are correct.
So I guess that'll be something we'll have to keep our eye on, because I can agree as a tester, seeing Lord Slug through testing, he seemed like he'd be a big threat, and he certainly had his matches, but kind of the one match you guys needed him to really show up, he kind of fell off, unfortunately. So do you guys have any final remarks then on the Divisional this week?
Not for me.
Beyond just saying GG, good game to Budokai, not really.
GG easy, we lost. All right. On to match number 5 then. We have Buujins versus Rugrats. Certainly a fun match when you look at the stats. Technically, Buujins' average height is 8 feet to the average height of 4 feet of Rugrats. So by a height standpoint, a silly match. So getting on to it, we have Maju versus Super Saiyan Goten, a melee versus melee to start. Goten's normally a super build too, so coming in with a build swap to try to duke it out. It was pretty even fight between the two, and Majub just barely taking out Goten with a little bit less than a bar left before Aurelie comes in and pings him off the map. Aurelie was not supposed to come in, but a failed tag attempt by Goten, he tried to set it up, switched their order up. So Majibu comes in to take on Aurelie, and actually manages to take her down to about 1.3 bars before she tags, and he only lost about a bar in the process. So Cell Jr. comes in, basically a fresh match between these two, and Majin Buu just actually dunks on Cell Jr. Poor Cell Jr. coming in with the alt color, looking a little gross as the commentators called it out, but he ends up only doing about 11k to Majin Buu before being taken out. Wait, was it taken out? No, Majin Buu takes him to 1 bar and he tags, but Majin Buu still had 2.1 bars in. Kid Buu comes in and finishes off Cell Jr. with 1v2. So Majin Buu tags out, Cell Jr. taken out pretty quick. Cyberman coming in and probably pulling out a all-star performance in taking out Kid Buu. Many would probably tell you is that he's probably one of the strongest characters in the league. So him getting taken out by Cyberman basically on his own is a very good sign for Rugrats. But after that, we have Super Buu versus Aurelie after a quick basically finish from Super Buu coming in, and Aurelie showing off that even on a super build, she is the queen of, or the demon child of melee, and destroys Super Buu after only losing 1 bar, being at 1 bar left. So Majin Buu comes back in and ults to finish off Aurelie, finishing the match. So overall, honestly, there were some great performances by Rugrats, but the fact that they basically were down a character due to Cell Jr. kind of derping a bit made it look a lot worse, but Majin Buu really kind of showed up today, and an average performance from Kid Buu and Majib was enough to seal the deal. So good match overall. Is a shame to see Rugrats at 1-3 because they have been putting in very strong performances with their team so far. Donut, what do you think of this match?
I thought it was a very, very good match. Very back and forth, actually, and it's kind of shocking because the weak links of the teams, at least from public perception, kind of carried the matches, right? So like Cyberman taking out Kid Buu, Majin Buu taking out Cell Jr. and most of Aurelie, right? And you don't really expect that from those two, right? You think Maju will take care of things, um, Cell Jr. would be able to do a lot more than he did. Goten obviously doing a little bit more than he did, only at 33,000 himself. Overall, I think there's a lot of positives you can take away for Rugrats. Aurelie and Cyberman both doing very well. Obviously, Buujins, doing getting the win, doing very consistent with Kid Buu and Majin Buu and Maju, all doing the 40k plus. Super Buu, this is another week where he's done roughly around 20,000, so that's somewhat concerning, if you will. But that could just be, poor timing coming in, or a poor matchup, or what have you. But overall, I thought it was a very good match overall. And I think Rugrats, despite them being 1-3, I think they're much better than what their record shows. They have a lot of good pieces: Aurelie, Kid Trunks, Goten. Those 3 alone can win you a lot of matches. So I'm excited to see what they can do going forward, and Buujin's still scary as ever.
Agreed. I would say, if anything, this is one of the matches to look at that shows that even though results for teams may not be overly positive, you may not be 4-0 like Namek, it is a insanely competitive team or league, and at really at any point you can bounce back, and I think a lot of teams have that potential, and Rugrats showed here that even though they lost by technically half a character, it was still a match that easily could have been in basically their corner with Kid Trunks and Evil Boo, the two strongest characters on each team being out. So certainly a good match. What would you have to say about this match, Fat Happy?
Uh, I feel like I say this every match, but it was good.
Keeping
Where
it
it,
consistent, hurt
yeah,
nobody's
I know,
feelings.
right? No, but I was really impressed with Cyberman. It feels from his stats and just the performance he's been showing that Cyberman at least has been one of their problem children. To a certain extent, never quite performing as well as he should be. And just the fact that he took out Kid Buu, where, as you said, Kid Buu is considered, I would definitely consider him one of the strongest characters in the league as a baseline. Just him taking out Kid Buu on his own, throwing out 5 B2s and hitting with 3 of them, that is impressive, to be honest. The fact that Majin Buu did great, I love that character. I don't know why, but I just love Majin Buu, so seeing him do great makes me feel great.
I mean, he's fat and happy as well, right?
You know it. So that honestly, it feels like he should be he feels like a character where maybe with the exception of his melee, his B2s are just good. You know, having a chargeable, a powerful chargeable Kamehameha and a breath type B2, where breath type B2s never miss almost. They have like a 90% connection rate if I'd have to spitball it. So it feels like he should be doing this good or almost this good consistently, if you ask me. But it was an impressive showing to say the least.
Yeah, funny enough, Majin Buu baseline stats has higher melee than half the team on Buujins. So even though he has a slow melee, the base stats are actually there to support it. What was that, Donut?
Nothing. No, I was just saying wow to that stat with the melee.
Yeah. So I mean overall, I will say one unfortunate thing is Cyberman does have a defense -2, so when they put defense +3, attack -1 on him, he's actually at defense +1. So when Kid Buu has defense +3, attack -1, he actually is at defense +3. So it makes it even more promising to see a character like Cyberman who is a little more kind of scuffed on the base stats lines, being able to go even against a character who is just stat-wise technically a lot better. So it was certainly a highlight I'd have to give Cyberman, even though he only did 40k, big shout out for the week, because he is a character who is fighting his little green heart out to be relevant, and maybe one day we'll see him blow up Yamcha.
For the Rugrats, it's looking at Cybermen, they're probably really excited that he didn't do 12k like last week. They're probably pretty happy about that.
Yeah, did you guys have any of the final remarks to say before we move on to match number 6?
I think I'm good on this.
Yeah, I think I'm good. I feel like, well, the only thing is, I feel like Rugrats, well, this was already mentioned, but I feel like Rugrats might have clinched it if they had Kid Trunks in instead, but that's, hard to tell at a glance. You have to have your best out sometimes, and I would say that Kid Trunks is their best character.
Agreed. The sub situation can be one that can be very difficult when you're planning weeks in advance, because you never know if they're going to stay good or not. Alrighty then, let's move on to match number 6. Cinema versus Sentai Squad. So this was a very fun match to watch. More new builds from Sentai. They're still going crazy, and Cinema still trying to find their foothold in the league. So we have Birder versus Garlic Jr. to start. Birder has now been swapped to a tank build, so I know we talked about it last week with Gommel of him doing some new things. This time they had a defense +3, attack -1. So moving on to a little bit more of a can he survive long enough to do his damage, where Garlic is more on an all-rounder but melee focused. So Garlic managed to beat Birder, but Birder managed to take him down to about half health or half a bar left. So certainly doing his job, and Birder tried to tag before going down, so Ginyu comes in second instead and manages to take out Garlic with a 1b2 quite quick. Fasha comes in and takes out Ginyu, but she only has about 1.7 bars left, and then Saiyaman comes in and finishes off Fasha. So some of the similar stuff we've been seeing tonight, lots of finishing off the previous opponent. He only lost about a bar, with fighting Fasha. So Zangaya coming in, and she actually gets taken out by Saiyaman, but managed to drag Saiyaman down to less than half a bar left before Turles comes in, and Saiyaman actually does enough stall and tags out before going down. So Saiyawoman comes in. Saiyawoman versus Turles now. Certainly a scary match as if Turles manages to transform early, Saiyawoman has 0 B2s to use, but she does manage to take him down to about a bar left before he transforms, and then just kind of power bodies her to death. And then finally, Saiyaman comes in and finishes him off. Finishes off that last bar relatively quick. So Sentai taking the win. They are finally on the board at 1-3. I know they've been looking for this for a little while. Certainly happy after having maybe it's commentator's curse or capsule cast luck coming into play here. So Cinema Tune 2 Sentai Squad 1-3. The stats may not show it, but this match actually kind of came down to the last second. For both teams, but it was an uphill battle for Cinema as Sentai with Saiyaman managed to create a lead halfway into the match. So shout out to Saiyaman and Saiyawoman. So Donut, what did you think of this match?
My initial thoughts going in, I thought Cinema would take it. Just I thought they had a more distant all-around team, but Sentai with the Justice duo kind of carried this match right in the later half of the match. And part of that could have been the people they're facing. Ginyu and Berta had to face against Fasha and Dola Jr., who are some of the better members of Cinema, where Turles and Zangaya are some of the weaker members of that squad. But still, I thought it was very nice back and forth. A lot. There's a nice tag in there from Saiyaman, if I remember right.
Yes, he tagged with about half a bar left, so a
Yes.
clutch tag to say the least.
Yes, definitely needed that to come back in. But I thought there was no weak character or weak performance from Sentai. If you look on Cinema's roster, I think Zingaya kind of got outclassed by Saiyaman, just in the melee department, and then in the grab into follow up into Justice punch or slash, whatever it is. And yeah, I thought very well done from Sentai, and specifically the Justice duo.
Agreed, yeah. I think Zangaya not quite keeping up in pace is what ended up costing Cinema the win here. At least the advantage which Sentai Squad managed to hold. So, Fat Happy, what did you think of this match?
I thought it was to keep it consistent, I thought it was a good match. Garlic versus Birder to start with, I thought it was extremely even. Birder at the end, he was looking to tag, but he ended up just sticking in there, stubbornly deciding to just attempt to take his man. But otherwise, I felt like every member on both teams did quite well. Maybe with exactly the exception of Zangaya. But the ending of the match I thought was very enjoyable to watch because it felt thematic. With I believe you called it the Justice duo fighting, not to steal the Team Kaiju's thunder, but fighting a Kaiju. The two Sentai Justice Warriors fighting the Kaiju. It felt like a very thematic ending to the match. Could have gone very differently. I believe that Turles did throw out an ult while an ape form that missed.
He threw out an ult in ape form, and he went ape with less than half a bar left. So 2 decisions that probably cost him if he had transformed earlier or hit that ult. Who knows how this match would have turned out.
Yeah, but I will say that Saiyawoman did really well after he went ape, where she did not throw any B2s at him. She just stuck to melee.
She did throw one and bounced off.
She threw a single one, but typically she's a character where I would see her throw. She's a spammer, right? So it feels like she throws out B2s all the time. So the fact that she only threw out one was a blessing in this case.
Certainly, yeah. I think the fact that she managed to control herself on the ape transformation, though it might have been shock over control, but in the end, she did what she needed to do to set up Saiyaman for an easy finish here. Saiyaman coming out the most damage dealt this week, but I would say it was a great effort. Even Captain Ginyu, his 32k, 33 basically, may not seem impressive, but coming in and kind of dishing out the damage on Fasha is a huge thing for them, and that's kind of what set up Saiyaman to create the lead, is giving him an easier time against kind of the main damage source of Cinema. And I know earlier it was said Trill is a little weaker, but he is an Eternal Life defense +3 character, so even if he seems weak, he has the staying power. So that early, if he had just done a 2-bar or 1-bar transformation instead of with a half-bar left, it really could have been a different match. But overall, it's still quite a good showing from both teams. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to say on this match?
Um,
What was that,
I,
Donut?
I feel
me,
like. Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
For me, I like to point out the build changes a little bit more. I thought those were very smart from Sentai. I believe Captain Ginyu was on an attack +2 defense minus early in the season, and I think taking away that defense minus, although you do get less attack, kind of help Ginyu stay in the match against Fasha. And that, I'd say, helps, later down with Saiyaman and Saiyaman be able to come back and take the match. Then Buddha taking on that tank build with Power Rage and Combo Master. That was very, very smart. Kind of keep him out there. Yes, he lowers the attack with the attack -1 with the defense, but you still, keep him on there. He does his damage. He gets his, I think it was 40k he did, 40 something like that.
Yeah, he did 42k.
And that, that's all you need, right? If he can do is 42 or 40 plus, you'll generally win more matches than not. So I thought those were two very smart decisions on that part, to keep those in. And then, yeah, that's mainly the main things I want to point out there on those builds.
Yeah, Sentai being a team that is not afraid to change all of their builds from one week to the next to try to create an advantage. Did you have any final remarks then, Fat Happy?
Yeah. It was simply to say that I felt like Turles did do 40k by the end of the match, so he did, in theory, take out a full character. That said, he could definitely have thrown out more B2s and hit that ult if they should have gotten that victory. There were things that could have gone differently, and also on the note of Ginyu, he did also underperform a bit, dealing only about 30k, but it could certainly have been worse. For your worst character, or not like for this match, for your worst character this match to only deal 30k, that's not that bad.
Yeah, some teams would certainly be happy with their character doing the least, doing that much, but it just depends on the all-around with how things have changed this new season. The 40k may be the goal, but it certainly, with the amount of healing, defense, and other strategies in the league, especially with the amount of attacks you saw earlier, you're almost required to do 50 just to keep your kind of meal on your table at this point. So, are you guys ready to get on to match number 7 then?
Actually, on the you mentioned how 40k is the goal, but with the amount of defense and healing, I feel like Eternal Life has become much more prolific on carry type characters this season compared to previous ones. It's very interesting, at least.
Meta has adapted with it.
It has swapped off the pure defense builds. Agreed. Alrighty then. So match number 7. This one was certainly a doozy, seeing Cold Kingdom take on GT. GT still fighting for their first win, but another match that kind of showed some moments where they are certainly getting close. So Metacooler versus GT Goku to start. Kind of a tank versus melee build, and Mecha actually manages to take out GT Goku with about 1.5 bars left. Shenron coming in, and no matter how hard he tried, he just couldn't quite finish off Meta being able to tag with about half a bar left. So Raccoon coming in, and a real battle of the big boys, standing proud and tall. kind of throwing B2s back and forth, trading different combos. Was really honestly a fun point of the match, and showed off that Shin Shenron is certainly able to play. But Shin unfortunately gets taken down by Raccoon. So Baby comes in and takes out the 1 bar left Raccoon with a quick final flash, or big bang attack as he says in game, forcing King Cold to come in, and King Cold just barely manages to make Baby fall. He actually just has a sliver of HP, or my bad. Baby just manages to take out King Cold with just literally a sliver of health left before third form Frieza comes in and kind of just throws him to the side. So final match here is we got third form Frieza versus Pan, and this is kind of just where the match falls apart. Unfortunately, Pan on a super build did not quite hit enough B2s, or really very much of any, and third form Frieza not even having to transform, and takes her out with almost 2 bars left. So honestly though, there were some great moments in this match. GT Goku falling real quick to Metacooler, and then Metacooler being able to tag, and Pan just totally kind of blowing it against third form Frieza. But Shin Shenron and Baby Vegeta showing some sparks of life here. I know it was unfortunate to go down to 0-4, but overall I think they still put out a pretty good performance in Cold Kingdom, going up to 3-1. That one loss was a bit of a surprise. They started off the league 2-0 and were really kind of been on a pretty big roll so far. So, Donut, what did you think of this match?
I thought it was a pretty entertaining match. I thought it was nice back and forth for a little bit. Metacooler obviously taking out GT, which is I thought it'd be a little bit more even than what it was, to be honest. But Metacooler obviously is no slouch in the melee department. Then I was very surprised with Shin Shenron. I thought Raccoon would kind of style on him a little bit with the false courage grab combo that he likes doing, but since Shenron was like, nope, we're just gonna do trap shooter after trap shooter and just keep you down, and it worked, right? It did its job. And then Baby obviously taking out King Cold, which is a big win if you are GT. That's a very big win considering how consistent King Cold is usually. And then at the end, as you said, Pan just a little outclassed against Frieza, and that's kind of where it fell apart there. But overall, I think there's a lot of good and good upsides to the match. GT, I feel that getting to that moment, like they'll find the win. They're getting a lot of pieces together. If they can get Shin Shenron consistent, if they can get Baby consistent like this, and then obviously Vegeta in the background who was benched this. If they can get those three performing, I think they can pick up a lot of wins going forward. But congrats to Cold, of course. Being 3-1 is no small feat with how strong the teams are this.
Yeah, certainly agreeable there. I think Team GT is basically like one A. I think all their characters are strong. They're just like one AI swap or one Patara swap away from getting some of them online, because we've seen them all kind of have their moments in these first 4 weeks. And it certainly feels like any time now they're going to pop off. And being their first season in the league, they still have a good bit of learning to do on getting this cohesion of what used to be free agents together. So, what do you think of this match then, Fat Happy?
Once again, to keep it consistent, it was a good match.
Still not hurting anyone's feelings, I see.
Yeah, I know. But honestly, I feel like the match was great, and but although it seemed as if Cold had a sizable lead at the end with Meta being tagged out, if he hadn't tagged, then it would have come down to a bar and a half on Frieza. So it really, I feel like GT could have used some tags. They had 0 tags this match. If they had either Sin or Baby Vegeta that had tagged, this match could have gone very differently. Seeing as they performed the best this match. Sin actually did pretty great in taking out Raccoon on his own, where I would consider Raccoon like a very strong character, honestly. He's been showing off, I feel, since Cold Kingdom picked him up. So
for those that don't know, Raccoon has a natural defense +2, hence why they didn't have any defense boosts on him, since he's just naturally tanky. Go ahead.
Yeah, and otherwise, that when Frieza, just as a side note, when Frieza killed baby with the long ball, like blast, that was hilarious because I saw him throw it out and I was thinking, just, is it gonna hit? Is it gonna hit? Oh god, it's gonna hit. And then it killed him. And it was hilarious.
Yeah, certainly very unfortunate that Baby managed to dodge the beam, but get hit by the tracking slow full charge ki blast.
It was entertaining to say the least. But I feel like in Team GT, even though they lost, that I feel like just the fact that Sin Shenron and Baby Vegeta performed pretty well means that they can be optimistic about the future of their team. So
Certainly, I think of all the teams that were 0-3 coming in this week, Grand Tour seemed like one that was bound to get their win sooner rather than later, with just the fact that they even though they're probably the only team that was 0-3 that has such a new team together, have like the tools necessary. It's just trying to get them in the right order. So got to keep their heads up, as Galma was saying last week. I think it just comes down to slight changes, and Cold Kingdom is certainly one of the strongest teams in the league by far. I don't think any team's going to go into them thinking it'll be a free win. I think it's always going to be a hard-fought battle with how consistent a lot of their guys have been doing. Did you have any final remarks there then, Donut?
No, I think you guys summed up there.
Did you have any other remarks you wanted to make, Fat Happy?
Maybe on the point of the builds for GT specifically. Well, this isn't too much to comment on the builds, but I know for a fact that Baby Vegeta can be very scary from the tag team tournament we had, where he was in. We had the Majin Vegeta and Kid Trunks versus Baby Vegeta and I can't remember who the other character was, but I know we've seen for a fact that he can be very scary when he wants to be. And
Yeah, I think
Sin Shenron is.
I was just saying the biggest change he's had is he got swapped from Majin Buu AI to Piccolo AI because they wanted some more B2s out of him, and that may be something that maybe they're considering going back, or maybe they have switched a few Patars as well, and it just wasn't working as well. So will be interesting to see. But yeah, did you have anything else to add on to that?
Just to say that Sin Shenron is trying his best. He's spamming so much. It's just so sad that one of his B2s is so low damage. But he's definitely trying.
Yeah, I think he showed off today that even if Trap Shooter isn't seen as a fantastic B2, it is certainly a good enough one to push the opposition back to keep your space. So, shall we get on to match number 8 then?
Let's do it.
Yep.
Alrighty then. The final match of the week, we have Derp versus Earth Defenders. That is a sad sign to see. I know Derp went down to 0-4, Earth Defenders up to 3-1. But overall, I don't think it was the worst match, and there were some very sad moments to happen, though. So, starting off, we have Yamcha versus Budokai, a kind of tank spammer versus a melee to start. And Yamcha just managed to keep Kabuto far enough away and even hit him with an ult and managed to take him out with about 2.6 bars left. Was certainly a surprise to see. And then Jiro entered the chat. So Jiro came in planning to take out Yamcha and does, but or Jiro takes Yamcha to about half a bar. My apologies, and is just not quite able to finish him off, but also tags himself at 1.2 bars. So basically, fresh match with Salsa coming in, finishing off the half bar of Yamcha with. Oh man, I've kind of screwed up the whole thing on this. Sorry. So going back, Dro comes in, fights Yamcha, takes Yamcha down to half a bar, and then tags at 1.2 bars left. Salsa comes in. Finishes Yamcha, but did eat a ult from Yamcha before going down, before base mid Goku comes in. So base mid Goku kind of comes in and just kind of slaps Salsa out almost immediately, barely taking a bar off mid Goku. So that is why there was only 8k damage done by Salsa. He kind of got thrown out of this match relatively quickly. So the champ comes in and kind of throws a birthday party for mid Goku, spamming present bombs to take him out, and he managed to only take about 2 bars in the process. Krillin comes in on his melee build. Herc gets taken out by Krillin, but he does manage to take Krillin down to about 1.5 bars. So Jiro comes in with the 2 bars, looking to kind of turn the match back into Derp's favor as the last one, but he was unable to take out Krillin. So overall, it's a little unfortunate. I believe they had TN in the back as well, so um, they were unable to get all the members of Earth Defenders out. But they had a surprisingly strong performance by Yamcha, and unfortunately, Salza and Supreme Kai just couldn't quite step up to the plate. They might have needed the presence from Hercule this week to get their hopes up. So it's a little unfortunate in the end, but I still think they are kind of showing what they have. It's a tough matchup too when Devilman basically can't ult anybody on your team. So what do you think of this match, Donut?
To be honest, I thought the result was kind of what I anticipated. I thought Defenders being such a strong team, as well as Devilman not being able to be a factor essentially, was going to be a bit uphill battle for Derp. But I'm very surprised about how the match went. I thought Salza and Sukai would do a lot better than they did. Obviously, Salza came in, all the ults in the world, and then kind of did nothing after that. But mid Goku didn't really give him time to do much, right? You look in two aspects, right? You look at it like, well, yes, he did only 8,000, but at the same time, he didn't have time to get any momentum. So what do we do to fix that? It's a hard spot to be in as a supporter coach, right? When you're building. I thought Jiro actually did pretty decent, considering he's Jiro. I thought Hercule did, very well. Got his 60k in as usual, so nothing to complain there. And then Yamcha is the big shocking factor for this match. People usually think he's like, one of the fourth or fifth best member on Earth Defenders, but he carried this performance, right? Taking out Supreme Kai, doing a lot of damage to Jiro. So, props to him. But that being said, I think Derp has the pieces. If they find a way to, maybe it's a different starter, maybe it's a different lineup order or an AI, but I think that they have the pieces, they have to get the wins. It's just a matter of time, a matter of maybe changing things up in lineup or build or whatnot, right? And then Earth Defenders obviously consistent as always, 3-1. We expect them to pick up some for it.
Yeah, certainly was a much more surprising result. I think everybody expected Earth Defenders to win this match, unfortunately, but I don't think they expected it to happen in the way that it did. I certainly was hoping for Earth Defenders to have a lot harder of a time, to be more nervous coming into the Divisional against us this upcoming week, but hey, sometimes that's a lot to ask, especially from a team like Derp, who seems to be struggling a little bit with a few of their members. So, Fat Happy, what did you think of this match then?
I thought it was a great match. But in all honesty, it was. I'm impressed with Yamcha. He's always seemed like an average character in the past, but these last 2 weeks he's dealt 70k damage. With especially this week where he did a lot. He hit 2 ultimates, 2 of his Sokidan, which I've always seen as one of the better ults in the game, honestly, being like a pseudo cutscene beam ult, or I suppose energy ball ult. It's good. It feels like they've made Yamcha into like a solid A+ tier character. I don't know if they've changed his build at all since the previous weeks, but for the last 2 weeks he's been performing really well. On the other side of things, it's a shame for Team Derp that Salza and Supreme Kai kind of just got bodied. They didn't really get to do much, in all honesty. Salza with a measly 8k and Supreme Kai with 13k. If they had showed up a bit more, or maybe if the Earth Defenders had popped off less, the match would have been more even. But I feel like at the very least, Herc, he really tried to pull it back. Herc, in all honesty, is one of the strongest characters in the game, so he definitely had the possibility of pulling it back. But it was too much with Salza and Supreme Kai's performance.
Yeah, I'd say Salza's was probably the most surprising. I know people kind of kind of throw a lot of dirt at him, but he's usually at least a very average character doing his 40 and kind of moving on from that. So having as weak a performance as he did was a major impact. But otherwise, I think we've pretty much said what there is to be said about this a little bit of a unfortunate match. Did you guys have any final remarks you wanted to say?
Not on my end.
I feel like maybe Yamcha did it as well as he did just because he didn't want to let Jiro stab him through the chest again.
True. He had vendetta, so.
Certainly a missed canon moment. But hey, we still have the Cybermen ult. Cross our fingers. Alrighty then, let us get on to the predictions. So pulling up the schedule here for week number 5, match number 1, we have GT versus Budokai. Personally, I think Budokai has the advantage coming in. GT still feels like they need to make a few changes, and Budokai coming off a divisional win is going to be riding on a little bit of a high. So it is certainly going to be a harder matchup for GT, but you never know. But I'm going to have to give it to Budokai.
I'll agree with you on that. Although Budokai as well, I think they're having a lot of momentum behind them right now off the win against Royals. And then we have Nam, we have Ngoku there, as well as Kid. I think they have a lot of pieces right now, and GT is still trying to find their footing.
Yeah, I would definitely also say Budokai has the upper hand in the coming match. It feels, having just lost to them and at least feeling like they have a very good grasp of how to counter the opponent's builds, at least with the boost they threw at us, and with. Honestly, GT hasn't been doing super great. They could definitely pull it back here in the future since their characters have so much potential. But consistency-wise and just having felt the heat already, I would say Budokai has the upper hand.
Alrighty then, so we have 3-0 for Budokai. Moving on to match number 2, the first divisional of the week, we have Derp versus Cinema. So this one took a lot of thinking. It really could go either way with being a divisional, but I would have to give it to Cinema. I think they've just kind of found enough of a rhythm to be able to pull it in. This is a team that Derp has a good advantage at. Devilman actually will shine here, but unless like he really hits an ult or two, I'm pretty sure Cinema might just be able to squeak it out with their slightly better consistency right now.
Yeah, I'll do Cinema as well. Dojita will be back. I think he'll be a big factor in the match. And like I said, I think they're a little more consistent around all the characters, and they should be able to pick up the win against some of the struggling characters of Derp right now.
Yeah, I feel like I definitely think that Cinema is consistent, but I feel like Derp has the potential. I'm gonna give it to Derp. I feel like Derp has the potential to really show off in this kind of matchup. Where if they have both Herc and Devilman in, Herc you can never count that character out. I honestly think that Herc on his own is better than better than every character on Cinema. So I don't think you can count Herc out at all. And if Devilman hits an ult on everyone except Gogeta, that's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt a lot. So I definitely don't think you can count Derp out. I'm gonna give it to Derp.
So we have 2 Cinema, 1 Derp. Yeah, I think me and Donut kind of around the same thought process there. But yeah, I mean, it being a divisional, it really can go any way, especially with the potential for a Devil Might Beam. Did you have something to add there, Donut?
Oh, no.
All right, moving on to match number 3, we have Rugrats versus Kaiju. So another match. If we had to go by height, 4 feet to 30 feet, this is going to be a little awkward one for the Rugrats. So I believe that Rugrats actually might have the advantage here. Trunks coming back in, Goten probably going back onto his super build, and that being a good one to do against the Giants, and especially with just how well a lot of the members did against Buujins, showed that I think they have some good steam riding into this match. So I'm going to have to give it to Rugrats.
I'll do it to Rugrats as well. I think.
No.
may have lost Donut for a second there. Fat Happy, why don't you give your prediction real quick
Yeah.
while we wait for Donut to potentially lag back in?
I'm actually going to give it to Kaiju because while I agree that the ape forms make for a big target for the super builds, they also have almost every character on the Rugrats has a rush B2, with the exception of a Rayleigh, I believe. Uh, so once the Kaijus go ape, that shuts off half the Rugrats' B2s, meaning that assuming they, in a theoretical world where they fired off each B2 at a 50-50 rate, half their B2s are just going to auto miss once the Kaijus reach around 1.2, 1.3 bars and transform.
Yeah, certainly kind of a rough matchup.
Hello.
Oh, there we
Yep,
go.
welcome
Donut's
back.
back in. So what were you saying about Rugrats?
Gotcha. So I said Red Rats should take this. I don't think you can bank on Kaiju getting the transformations off. They've had a little bit of a hard time getting those to be consistent. So I'd say Red Rats will take it with Kid Trunks and Rayleigh, and Goten being able to carry the match.
Alrighty then, so we have 2 for Rugrats, 1 for Kaiju, but certainly a match that can go any way, depending on how things go. So, moving on to match number 4, we have Cold versus Androids. I think this is another top contender match. This is going to be it feels like a divisional with how strong these teams are. So, I unfortunately think have to give this to Cold. I think they are trucking along, almost pretending like they're 4-0. They had another very strong week, and I mean, forcing third form Frieza not transforming shows they are certainly in a moment where they are feeling a little safer. So, but I honestly would not be surprised at all if Androids managed to take it. But seeing how it's also not on Glacier, I think I'm going to have to give it to Cold with a slight advantage.
I have some bias. I'll go with Androids, of course.
Surprised.
We'll have 19 back in, and they'll have Hula back in, if I remember correctly.
Yes,
And
base
I
cooler.
think I think with Pema's like Cell 17, 16, there's definitely a world where we can take the win, and if we can find the lineup correctly, which I think we will be able to take it.
I'm going to have to go with Cold, considering that it's not on Glacier. And I generally feel like Cold has shown how scary they can be recently. I feel like they're gonna clinch it. I feel like although both teams are very scary and quite consistent and renowned, I feel like Cold just has the slight edge. And so when they aren't on the Glacier map, I definitely feel like Cold has the upper hand.
So we have 2-1, Cold versus Androids, but this is probably going to be a match to keep our eye on for the next week. 2 Titans certainly going at it. Next we have match number 5, which is Sentai versus Hybrids. I feel like this is an unfortunate match for Sentai to be coming into after their fight against Cinema. Normally I'd say a win coming into this would be good for them, but Hybrids also have a win coming in, and they just have a few more consistent characters right now. But same man, same woman, you never know, but I'm going to have to give it to Hybrids or Gohans plus Sword Trunks.
Yeah, I agree. I have hybrids in this one as well. I think they're too consistent overall. You have Ultimate Gohan coming back in. You have Future. You have Kid Gohan. They just have so many weapons, right? That's not even counting Teen. So I think that hybrids will take it.
I'm also gonna give it to Hybrids. I feel like they're more consistent than Sentai, and since Sword Trunks showed up this week, this shows that he definitely has the potential to show up again during the next match if he wants to. So I'm gonna have to give it to Hybrids.
All right, so we have 3-0 Hybrids over Sentai, but I mean they surprised us this week. There's no saying they will stop here. So next up we have another divisional, which is Earth Defenders versus Buujins. Buujins supporters next.
I'll say Buujin as well. I think it'll be very close. I'm saying like less than a bullet close type of thing. Because both teams are so consistent. I just think that the the ceiling may be higher for Earth Defenders with the Vegeta, but I think the floor for Buujins is higher than the floor for Earth Defenders members. So, as in like Yamcha, Krillin is, I would rate them slightly lower than Majin Buu. So, I'll say Buujins on.
I'm also gonna give it to Buujins. I personally, Evil Boo is one of my favorite characters. So if since it's the divisional, I'm assuming he's gonna be in. And if Majin Buu shows up as much as he did this week, then I definitely think they have I think they have a really good shot at beating Earth Defenders. Not to say that Earth Defenders are weak by any means, especially with the way Yamcha has been performing recently.
Yep.
So sounds like we have a 3-0, but it is a divisional. So there's really no telling what'll happen, and if builds will change or anything really. So certainly gonna be a fun one to watch. 2 divisionals this week. That's a fun one. Moving on to match number 7, we have Royals versus Muscle. So even though Royals took a little bit of a stumble in week 4, I think they still have enough momentum to be strong against Muscle. I think Muscle, with their kind of switch on a dime for builds, is both a good strength and a weakness, and I think that Royals might be able to use it as a weakness and take the win. So I'm going to go with the Royals on this one.
Yeah, I'll take Royals as well. I just think, they have so many strong characters. You have, Majin Vegeta, you have the and Frieza, and I believe they'll get Frieza ulting again. So I'm banking on Frieza for this prediction. Get him ulting again, and they'll take out Muscle. Even though Muscle did show off, a masterclass last week.
I'm a bit biased, but I'm gonna have to give it to my own team, the Royals, being a supporter. But also, I think we have a good shot at beating Muscle. There might be some slight build changes, presumably, but
spoilers.
I think we have a good shot.
Yeah, luckily the spoilers don't affect much here since we are not going against you right now. But yeah, so we have a 3-0 Royals over Muscle, but both teams are certainly strong teams and big contenders. Might even be divisional against each other next season. So lastly, match number 8, Resurrected Warriors versus Namek. I would say Resurrected Warriors with 18 coming back in probably have one of the best shots at taking down the Jolly Green Giants right now, even on their run of fun. So I think it's going to be a very close match, but I think Resurrected Warriors, they have a lot of strong players and 2 androids that are quite consistent. Might just give them the edge over Namek. So Resurrected Warriors for me.
I'll say Namek on my end. I think Nova will be able to match 18's output. And I think Late Piccolo and Keen will be able to match others like, and Vegeta and Ada. And I just think they're more consistent across the board overall. So I'll take Namek.
I'm gonna give it to Namek as well. And Late Piccolo and Nova, as you said, are just scary. They're monsters in their own right. And I don't think 18 is... She's obviously extremely good, but I don't think she's good enough to give Resurrected Warriors the edge over Namek as a baseline.
All right, so we have 2 Namek, 1 Resurrected Warrior. Will certainly be interesting to see if early Piccolo kind of makes his return versus Namek here on the opposite side. So that goes it for our predictions this week. Do you guys have any final remarks or sayings you want to say before I close out the episode?
I'm good to go.
I think I'm good to go. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on this week, Fat Happy. Donut, a pleasure as always. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe. Favorite isn't a thing anymore, so throw it in a playlist maybe. Please join the Discord. Please leave a comment down below. We do read them every week. We only get about 3 a week, so it's a little hard to adjust when we're not sure what you guys want from us. But again, please feel free to join in. We are a very open community. Coaching positions, supporting positions aren't all that different, as you can tell by the guests we have, and you can have a huge impact with not having to do a lot. So otherwise, this has been Capsule Cast. Thank you guys so much, and have a great week.